Hey guys, Duke Delayed here for the Intimacy Liberation Army, and today I want to talk about figuring out whether or not your actual life and your ideals are matched up. I was doing a bunch of self-reflection today, doing a bunch of the journaling prompts that I was talking about in episode, I think, 11, and I was realizing that my priorities had shifted from getting like all the areas of my life handled in my ideal way, and what I wanted to focus on for the next quarter. So quarter one of 2025, I'm focusing on getting my business more active, getting my fucking weight down. I dropped like 45 pounds last year, and I don't want to stop. Like I want to keep going until I get like abs almost. And I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'm literally skinnier than I have been in 15 years because I've been just grinding on it and finding the good mindsets and the motivations behind the things I needed to do that I had so much resistance to all the years before. And those things are really kind of on the highest priority on my list. And there are other things like my intimacy goals and my sex life and all these things that are not as close to the ideal as I'd rather them be. But over so many years, I've had so much crazy successes in that area that it's lower on the priority, right? And so here I was, just kind of like delegating to these people in my life that are sort of responsible for handling that side of my life. And sometimes I'll get frustrated when I'm not communicating at the level I'd like to, or not getting laid as frequently as I'd like to. But a lot of those things that I realized as I was doing some introspection, self-reflection, in reality, if those were a priority for me, they would just happen. I'd be just like a shark, just like, okay, you are not communicating in the way that is going to help us grow and move on, so I'm going to stop trying, and you can come back when you want. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep focusing on this. And even though I sort of tacitly started doing that in a way, I don't care. I actually don't give a fuck if that part of my life grows at exponential rates right now, because I want to focus on these other things. And I don't think it's a limiting belief to say that there is serious lack of resources. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much emotional energy and willpower. There's only so long I can think and self-reflect to a point where I can find solutions in all these different areas. And right now, my current goal-setting life is there's 11 different areas of my life that I'm constantly moving forward and making progress on. And there are a couple of those areas I just don't give a fuck about. Like, I'm just not pushing the envelope and getting like exponential growth on them, because I'm focusing on growing the other things much faster. Nothing's getting left behind. I don't have any like things that aren't happening well and moving forward and growing in my life, but some of them are slow as fuck and some of them are super accelerated. So from the self-awareness standpoint, from the know yourself standpoint, I was reflecting today on going over my goals and my things that I was getting triggered by, and like, why am I mad that I'm not having the level of communication I want when I'm not actually focusing on growing and building that communication. I just expect it to be at a certain level. And yeah, that's part of my standards, but like, if I'm not doing a bunch of effort to make that thing grow, then why do I expect it to grow? And am I really pissed off or not? Because if it's not growing because I'm not taking effort to work on it, why am I mad that it isn't happening? Like I could literally just shift my focus at any point and be like, okay, I'm going to work on this, and this is going to grow by this much, and I'm going to explore and see what things I can learn in communicating with this other human being, and I would grow, or the relationship would end, which probably wouldn't happen. But like, I would push it to the point where I would get my standards met. And so at this point, any lack that I'm feeling in that area is really just a lack of effort in my and attention to detail in that way, because I'd rather be focusing on other shit right now. And when I was doing the self-reflection journaling, I was thinking, oh man, maybe I'm just justifying. Like maybe I'm making it okay that my standards aren't being met. But really, I think if there were real standards, they'd be getting met, or there would be a bunch of new opportunities in my life. Right now, they're just ideals. They're like ideas that I think are nice. Like, I'd like to have abs 2 years ago was like an ideal. It wasn't real. I couldn't actually envision myself having that level of physique. Whereas now, after another 45 pounds down, like, I can legitimately see that fucking path. It probably won't happen this year, just because of the trajectory I'm on. But like, I can actually see it. I can feel it. I can be like, oh yeah, that's possible. And so that moved from an ideal to a goal when I got to a certain level of progress there. And my other goals, spirituality for one, intimacy for another, like like I had these ideals of like having sex all the time, and like being able to resolve conflicts with a super communicative partner, and like all this stuff that it's just ideals. They're like ideas in my brain. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm just justifying my standards aren't there. But those aren't actually my standards. My standards are kind of currently where I'm at. Like, where my standards are is the life that I'm living. Like, who I'm being, who I'm showing up as, is generating these results, and the world is my mirror, right? Like, that's like the Neville Goddard thing. That's true. Like, if I was focused on that shit, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could just make that happen. But I'm not. There was a time in my life where I was super focused on that, and I had 3 relationships at once, and all of them respected me, adored me, had clear communication when they wanted to argue and were having problems, and when they wanted to flip out on me, I would cut them off and be like, all right, come back when you want to be an adult about this shit. And I kept my standards, however toxic or whatever it might have been at the time. Like, I kept the level of how I was to be treated at a certain level back then. And I got to a level of success with that I just didn't give a fuck anymore. Like, because I like myself enough now that I don't need everybody to act a certain way around me anymore. But as I've kind of dropped the ball on enforcing those things and making sure that I clearly communicate every time there's a misunderstanding or whatever, I've sort of lost that same result set. And I think it's kind of like riding a bike. Like I said, if I wanted to, I could just go do that. And I would go find a new relationship at the club. I go through the critical 6-week fucking grow your intimacy thing, so that I had like a real solid connection with somebody, instead of like, just fucking people and playing them against each other. And then I would have my needs met very quickly, in under a couple months. And I just don't care. And so to sit around and like bitch about the ideal not getting met is like a self-lie. It's like saying, oh, you should be living this level and you're not. It's like those girls who I'll meet and they'll be like, I deserve everything, and a man needs to wait hand and foot for me, and they need to pay for everything, and I'm gonna need it. Like, I talked to this girl last weekend, and she was like, I need somebody over 6 feet, makes fucking $200K a year, and da 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 da. I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine. Those are good standards. Why? And she's like, well, I have a lot of things, and I have this particular lifestyle I want to be a part of. Okay, cool, great. And so, how's your dating life? Okay, well, she hasn't had a fucking boyfriend in fucking 2 years. And so, okay, maybe the standards are not standards, they're just ideals. Right? Like if they were real standards, you would fucking be the kind of person that was around that kind of energy. Right? I know plenty of girls who hang out in the entrepreneurial circles and in the business owner circles, and they act in a way that attracts those kinds of men. There are clubs here in Westlake, and there are clubs in Brentwood and LA and whatever that aren't currently burning down, and that if you just go there and you meet the fucking rich dudes and then you fucking be nice to them, you're going to get into the relationships that you want, and But this person was not going and doing the thing. She wasn't being the kind of person. She wasn't showing up as the kind of person that could get those goals accomplished. And I'm not here to talk shit about. I think I talked shit about that idea the other day because of the depth of the conversation we got into. But I'm not talking shit about our goals. Like, the goals are fine, right? Just like I want to be an astronaut is a perfectly decent goal. However, if I'm not the person who's applying for SpaceX, Space Force, or doing the requisite education and things that I need to get in that direction, then it's not a goal. It's an ideal. It's a thing that I think might be nice, but it's not something I want. It's something I'm going after. And so when it comes to the self-awareness thing, I would say, because the self-reflection stuff I did today was fucking phenomenal. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't actually want that shit right now. And it doesn't mean I'll never want it. It doesn't mean that fucking 3 months from now I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm focusing on intimacy now. I'm going to fucking make sure that all of our conversations are going to be as resolvable as possible and we learn some new skills on how to communicate. Like, I might do that. But right now, I don't actually give a fuck. I'd rather get abs and make shit tons of money and make some music and shoot all these videos and get all my content out in the world and like do all the stuff that's like purpose driven. Get myself and David, on preparing the live events for summer for Limitless, and like I don't actually give a fuck about like having this deep connected like super relationship, because otherwise I wouldn't settle for it if it wasn't that way. Like, I wouldn't give people the benefit of the doubt. I remembering back when I was carrying a lot of polyamorous style relationships, nobody could disrespect me. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to put up with that. Like, I was an adult about it. I wasn't like flipping out or whatever, but I was like, yeah, come back to me and talk to me when you have some, what's the word I use? Adoration. Like, when you actually think that I'm the man that you want and you want to treat me like that, then you can come talk to me again. Otherwise, don't call me. And it was pretty hardline, but like, I was happy as fuck because like I didn't put up with bullshit. And so I think I could probably do that in the future. It probably needs a different tactic now. I also realize as my introspection, I can't really go back. Like, all the things that satisfied me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, although they're very good tactics, they don't match who I currently am, right? I was projecting, like, what would happen if I was just to go be fully single. I would probably get really lonely real fast and then go have a bunch of meaningless sex for months on end until I got it out of my system. And that would seriously stop every other goal in my life, because I remember how much effort it was to get that level of abundance in the dating world. I remember like I spent hours and hours a day hanging out with people and building social relationships and creating social circles and planning events and doing all that stuff. It's just a lot of fucking work, and I don't want it that bad. But I know that if I was fully alone and no options, that's exactly what I would do. I would go fucking, I would go crazy. And I don't want to do that right now. It's like not in my priority list, and I know that if I was fucking lonely, I would do it because I know it works. And so I'm actually, without justification, realized that like, okay, I'm going to handle that, but I'm going to handle that at some point. And now is not that point. So I don't need to get pissed off if that's not being handled right now, because it's not in my current goal set. So that's a level of self-awareness I got to personally today, where I was just, because after the 15th of last month, I started planning out 2025 and doing all this shit. I'm not done yet. Like, I'm still going through each area and breaking things out and being very specific on my goals and who I have to show up as, who I have to be in order to be the kind of guy who deserves those things. And I just got here and I was like, man, uh, good thing I'm doing this whole self-awareness thing in January because I'm making a lot of insights for myself on this. So yeah, back in the introspection thing, this isn't really a how-to video, but if you're still watching, go in your journal. I've already put the benefits of journaling like crazy in like episode 4 or something. Uh, go in your journal and ask yourself, what are my actual goals for this quarter or this year? And what are my ideals? And is it time to let go of some of the ideals for now and understand that they are just ideals and good ideas? And if they happen, great. But if they don't, I don't need to effort my way into them, right? I don't need to put any fucking expenditure of time and resources into these things because they're just nice ideas. It would also be nice if I won the lottery. I think all of the effort that I'm going to put in that is probably buy one Powerball ticket next time it comes around. Like, I don't really care that much. I'm not going to put a whole great deal of like thoughts and obsession and watch everything. Like, I don't care. Although it's nice and might as well, buy a ticket for $1, but like, do I give a fuck about it to think about it and let it fucking control my brain? No, I don't. So ask yourself, like, okay, which ones are my ideals? Which ones am I actually focused on? What are my actual standards about? And are those standards being met? If they're not, you can effort your way into being the kind of person that deserves those results. I think that's a big philosophical thing I got to go down a rabbit hole on at some point in one of these videos. But you can't try hard your way into actually getting results. You can try hard your way into forcing yourself to grow or change or metamorphosize into the type of person that deserves those results. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with wanting a 6-foot dude who makes $200K a year. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're not hanging out with a bunch of dudes who make $200K a year, you're shooting yourself in the foot because then your dating life sucks, right? Like you aren't being the kind of person that deserves that or is achieving those results in their life. You're not going to just run into the random highly successful dude at the gas station and then like go on a date. Like, that's not going to happen. You don't bring anything to the table in that way. You're not moving in those circles. You're not speaking that language. You're not, right? You're not doing those things. And so you don't deserve those results, right? But yeah, I think I'll save that whole efforting thing for later. Yeah, go in your journal, figure it out. Like, which ones are goals, which ones are ideals, and who do you need to become to achieve the goals you want. And if you want to move a goal into an ideal, then you have to do some growth and expanding in order to be the kind of person who deserves it. And that's my thoughts today on growth, expansion, ideals versus goals. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Click the like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you then. Till then, stay awesome.